let's get to weekend surprise. I've got 2 weekend surprises I want to talk about. My first one is Penn State. Not because I'm surprised that they won that game. That is not what I was surprised about. But my surprise, if we're just talking about them in general, is this is a team that could do it this year. And the way everything's laid out, they're the Big Ten team I was referring to earlier that I believe could get into the college football playoff and really make some noise. I mean, I think we could see a Penn State-Alabama national championship game. Now, it would take their best foot forward. It would take their, really continuing to build confidence and get on a roll. And yes, I'm a little emotional because of how great that atmosphere was last night and how moving and inspiring it was seeing that fan base just going crazy and the stadium being, Whiteout and all of that. But that's a team that they've been knocking on the door really since Franklin got there and was able to get his system in place. Since James Franklin's been at Penn State and get his system in place, they've been knocking at the door. They get the New Year's Six. And I just think with where Ohio State's at, obviously your boys up in Ann Arbor are going to have something to say about this, but I think this really could be – yeah, exactly. This could really be a year, though, where Penn State makes some noise. It's just – I don't know. I mean, it's like they got to go through the Big Ten ringer to get there. But I think if they do, they can maybe make some noise. So Penn State was one, and then my other one, man, is Ole Miss. They kind of reminded me of the Dallas Cowboys coming into this season, and what I mean by that is they just needed a defense that doesn't suck, right? Like if last year, if they just would have had a defense that wasn't god awful, like they probably would have won even more games than they won. The only thing I question with Ole Miss is will they beat Arkansas? Because it's like it's something about Arkansas, and yes, I am an Arkansas fan, but even in the worst 7-year stretch in our history, we're still 5-2 against Ole Miss. I don't understand that. It's been years where like Ole Miss was a top-ranked team, they beat Bama, and then they come in and turn around and lose to Arkansas.
Right.
My honest opinion, though, is they're going to take care of the Razorbacks this year. Just looking at what their defense is doing, with Lane Kiffin and that offense and that quarterback, they're going to make some noise. But that is kind of my big question mark on them. Like, man, are they going to beat Arkansas? Let's not talk about Bama or LSU or any of these other guys. But they were a weekend surprise for me because that defense, man, it looks stout. And their offense was going to be good, so I'm very much keeping an eye on, not just because they're a conference division opponent of my team, but they're a team I could see maybe kind of subtly making a lot of noise. And by the time we get later on in the season, you're looking at going, wait, maybe they're trying to make a statement for the SEC West, but I'm not ready to make that bold prediction just yet because I still firmly stand by you're not beating Bama.
Well, man, I'm going to go into my biggest surprise, man. Speaking of your boys, Bama, one of my weekend surprises, right? When we speak about Bama, we've been speaking about Bama 3-4 weeks now, right? We've been saying Bama is impenetrable. And man, I'm about to mispronounce the word. Is it impenetrable?
You got it. Impenetrable.
Impenetrable. There it is. Guys, I did really well on my SATs, actually, so I'm very intelligent. Just stumbling on that word this morning. But we looked at that, right? I watched the Bama-Florida game. Could there be, this is my biggest surprise, right? Could there be that there's a weak link in the Bama armor? They have magnificent quarterback play. Magnificent. Bryce Young is the truth. I think Bryce Young is going to be the 2023 number 1 overall pick in the NFL draft. Put it on wax. When this comes up next year, I want us to replay this clip. I think he's going to be the 2023 number 1 overall pick in the NFL draft as long as he stays healthy. The offense is immaculate. The thing that I saw, though, the weak link was the run defense of Bama. UF was able to put, I think, something like 284 rushing yards on them. And if you look, if you watch the game early on, like I actually fell asleep. I was having my after-win coma from the Michigan game. But I wake up at halftime because in the early Bama was putting it on them. I'm like, man, I'm about to catch a nap, get ready for this night game. And then what I see is like, wow, Florida really was running it on Bama. And it made me think, and I'm scrolling through Twitter and I'm reading, some of these experts and what they have to say. I'm like, could the run defense be the thing that helps teams at least stay in the game to give themselves a shot? because Florida was really, they missed the extra point. That's why they had to go for 2 at the end of the game. If they don't miss the extra point, the game ties. You got momentum on your side. Maybe you do the impossible and beat Bama.
Maybe.
So that's all I'm saying. I'm not saying someone's going to dethrone them, but I'm saying that was my biggest surprise, that there is a weak link, so to speak. Now, we know Saban's a great coach. He's going to try to cover that up. But this is week 3, man. I don't know what more you can cover up. If you're going to be weak on run defense, you're just going to be weak on run defense, and it's going to be a bend, not break mentality. So that's just kind of my biggest surprise when it comes to this past weekend. Outside of that, man, I got to say this Georgia defense. Georgia, now my friend Jaron Prince says this every year. We were laughing on Facebook. He's like, this is going to be Georgia's year. And my buddy goes, you say this every year. Stop it. Just stop it. Like, just stop. Every year we hear Georgia's this year. But I looked at Georgia. I watched them play South Carolina. And this is South Carolina, right? But South Carolina gives them fits every year. And, man, the defense looks incredible. JT Daniels at quarterback, the USC transfer. The kid, he's going to be a top 5 pick, I believe, as long as he stays healthy. And so I'm going to say, man, Georgia's defense was the biggest surprise because week 1, I was like, okay, they play Clemson. We see who Clemson is, right? They had a tune-up game last week. I can't even remember who they played. But they came into an SEC foe who normally gives them fits. Mercer. No, Mercer played Bama last week.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah.
Yes, but Georgia played a team like Mercer last week.
Yeah.
But then they come in and they dominate South Carolina from the jump. And so I was really surprised, man. So those are my 2 biggest surprises, man. Bama has a weak link. Georgia has a stout defense. When these 2 play each other, I think this is going to show we're going to find out who's going to be the SEC champion this year when those 2 face off in a couple weeks.
Oh, yeah. Well, what's interesting about Bama is that it's like their identity on some level has shifted from the early years of Saban where their staple was stopping the run and, just dominating and suffocating teams with their defense. And then it seems like really as they shifted into like really Tua's era was then it was like, okay, well, we'll just go outscore everybody. We'll still play solid, good defense and have like great players on the field and first-round draft picks all over the field, but like we're just going to go outscore everybody. So that's an interesting take, and I'll be curious to see how that plays out. So